Good evening and welcome to Veterans Voices. I'm Craig Treadway. Tonight on this Veterans Day, we honor those who served, their bravery in battle and their resilience upon return. You'll meet a man who recounts his experience as a young soldier in the Army who watched firsthand as the statue of Saddam Hussein came down 20 years ago. And a New Jersey Army medic who will finally have a place to call home thanks to Habitat for Humanity. But we begin with the incredible story of retired Army Staff Sergeant Travis Mills. He truly believes he should have died on the battlefield in Afghanistan, where he endured what many would see as unsurvivable wounds. His story is truly a profile in courage. Here's Marvin Scott.
Unfortunately, I had a bad day at work. I didn't mean to get blown up, but I did.
On his third tour with the 82nd Airborne Infantry, Travis Mills placed a backpack on the ground which concealed an explosive device. He lost both his arms and legs and became only one of 5 service members ever to survive such catastrophic wounds.
I realized that I did live through it. It could have been a whole different outcome if I wouldn't have made it.
Once his condition stabilized, Mills was flown to Walter Reed Army Medical Center to begin a long road to recovery. Grateful to be alive.
I had to stop asking why this happened and that I couldn't close my eyes and just will myself to die. So instead of being, angry and bitter about everything, I decided that I might as well move forward and get, past the injury.
Mills endured great pain as he underwent multiple surgeries, and recognizing that his life would never be the same, he made a very difficult decision when his wife came to see him.
I told her to leave me. I don't want to be a burden. Take the house, the cars, any money we have, and it's all yours. And she said, no, she'll get through this with me.
And his wife remained at his side during years of excruciating physical therapy and as he learned to live with prosthetics. His young daughter helped boost Mills' will to live.
I took my recovery as my new job. My daughter was my guiding light, if you will. And she was 6 months old when I got injured, and we learned how to do everything together. We even learned how to walk together.
Almost a dozen years since Mills stood at death's door in Afghanistan, he has reclaimed his life. He observes each anniversary of the day he was blown up as his Alive Day, as he did last year in Times Square. He's a motivational speaker and an advocate for wounded veterans. He says he's inspired every day by his wife and 2 children, and he's an inspiration to other veterans carrying the scars of war. In his new book, Bounce Back, he advises,
live every day to the fullest, realize the gift that life is, just keep pushing forward, and remember to never give up and never quit.
Travis Mills continues to overcome life's challenges, breaking physical barriers and defying odds. He's created the Travis Mills Foundation with a facility in Maine to help wounded veterans overcome physical challenges and obstacles and to embark on new beginnings. He is certainly the embodiment of his own credo: never give up, never quit. I'm Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News.
Well, this year marked the 20th anniversary of the beginning of the Iraq War, and this now iconic moment when the statue of Saddam Hussein came tumbling down. Many of us saw the images on TV, but some Marines watched the pivotal moment firsthand. Michael Hennessy sat down with one of them who witnessed it.
It's recognized as the last of the reign of Saddam Hussein.
The Iraqis start hitting it, so somebody had the idea, we're going to pull it down.
A dictator torn from his power in Baghdad's Firdos Square in April 2003. But while the majority of the world watched it through screens,
there's that mosque.
A select few, a hand-picked crowd, lived it.
I have a photo. I'm kind of standing back away to the left in the corner when the statue came down.
And to this day, their war marches on.
It was Operation Vigilant Resolve, and I have his picture.
Jake Swaim is a legacy Marine.
My dad is a Marine. There's pictures of me, as a kid wearing his hat or his uniform.
As a 17-year-old working at a Winston-Salem, North Carolina Chick-fil-A.
September 11th, 2001 solidified that that's what I was going to do.
Going into the Corps was never in question.
I was 17 at the time, so I couldn't join the Marine Corps without my parents signing, both parents.
Convincing his mother was, but she relented 45 days after the Twin Towers came down.
In June of 2002, I'm in a van leaving from Charlotte to go to Parris Island.
He graduated boot camp a month before his 18th birthday and was part of one of, if not the, 1st battalion to get to Kuwait.
We stayed at camp, what was called Camp Ripper, and there was nothing. We set up Camp Ripper, so I'm pretty sure we were the first people to arrive. And that night, President Bush gave his, famous world release.
To disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
I describe it kind of like before the big game, and not that war's a game by any chance, but it's what military trained for.
They wrote history.
You don't think about it, and whether it's good or bad, we did. I mean, we were part of it.
As they witnessed the fall of a different kind of man.
It was the tanker's idea to kind of pull it down. And of course, our colonel's like, yeah.
But while to onlookers, it may have seemed like a turning point.
As we know, his head came off, and they literally drug it around and hit it with sandals as they're going this direction. So I'm kind of on the sidewalk.
The mission was headed.
I remember it like it was, that's something, you just don't forget.
To Fallujah.
Back then, us being 18, 19 years old, and even early 20s, we wouldn't say we were scared, but we were all scared. You're in war.
April the 11th.
But lost a good friend in 2004.
Corporal Daniel Amaya had served his time, but chose to go back with his Marines and was leading them from the front.
He was shot multiple times. We were entering the house, and I remember, pulling him out, and I was on an overwatch, but I didn't realize it was him.
Swaim also chose to go back in 2005, but in 2006 decided his tenure in war would end with 3 tours and the rank of sergeant.
I remember the pilot, when we crossed into United States airspace, he said, "Welcome home, Marines." We were crossing into United States airspace, welcome home, and everybody's cheering.
Today, he's the sergeant over his hometown's homicide unit. Amaya's name lives on as his daughter's first, the daughter of a lifelong public servant.
And still to come, the silent pandemic facing our nation's veterans. Tens of millions battle PTSD, but it is not a fight they need to take on alone. See the new treatment showing great promise. Plus this.
I will always make sure the American people remember our military veterans and their families.
Meet the Navy vet turned music star who's making sure other servicemen and women can achieve their dreams when Veterans Voices returns. From the Navy to the Grammys, hip-hop artist and producer B. Taylor uses his connections he's made in the music industry to help his fellow veterans. Basil John has his story.
B. Taylor is a hip-hop artist, producer, and songwriter with 2 Grammy nominations for his music.
You have to have the correct vocals, you have to write the right message, you have to have the right instrumentation.
He's also a veteran who joined the Navy in 2001.
They attached me to, be with the Special Ops, which was Navy SEALs at the time, Recon.
He served until 2006, when he received a temporary assignment duty in San Diego to pursue a professional football career. But little did he know, his life would change after a trip to Los Angeles.
I was playing the piano. I was approached by a guy who had a huge afro. He was like, "Hey, man, my brother's famous. That's my mom's favorite in the song, Ribbon in the Sky, Stevie Wonder. Can you come meet him? It's Snoop Dogg."
His transition into the music industry gave him insight into the challenges many military members worry about when considering life after their service.
Please don't let the American people forget who we are. I might not come back, and if I do, I might be messed up, but you have a platform. Please don't let them forget who I am.
Taylor used his connections in the industry and started the One Life organization, a nonprofit that helps active duty military, veterans, first responders, and their families treat things like PTSD and depression through activities like sports and music.
I wanted them to get the same treatment that I was getting, no different.
Taylor's organization helps veterans and active military personnel all across the country, including here in Virginia, where one athlete is in pursuit of her Olympic dream.
I've been an athlete my whole life.
Riley T-Jack is a United States Marine Corps captain, a member of Team USA bobsled, and an Olympic hopeful.
Balance is a constant a constant thing I'm having to figure out every single day.
But her goal comes with a hefty price tag, $50,000 for one season to compete. One Life helps her cover the cost of travel and transporting her two 400-pound sleds.
Competing on Team USA is primarily unfunded, and that makes it very difficult. Is how am I going to be able to support my dream and what I want to do for, bobsled?
In 2026, she wants to become the first female Marine in the Olympics.
I've never been to the games, but my dream is to do everything I can to get there.
She says she's thankful for Taylor and the One Life organization.
He's an incredible man that wants to just give back to so many people, and his One Life organization has been able to directly help me finance different things for bobsled.
Taylor says he wants One Life to grow to help more people like T-Jack.
I'm just blessed that I was able to keep my word, Basil, that I told him I would always make sure the American people remember our military veterans and their families.
Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
Well, a former Army medic from New Jersey will soon have a place to call home, and she has a hands-on role in making it happen. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Voices. We need to address an important topic now facing so many servicemen and women: post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is known as the silent pandemic, but as Marvin Scott tells us, there is a new treatment showing great promise.
As many as 23% of all veterans are reported to experience PTSD within a given year. New therapies are now being employed to help relieve patients of the debilitating symptoms.
When I left Vietnam, I left with a duffel bag. I did not know that I was taking home Agent Orange and post-traumatic stress.
Mike Marino was 23 when he left Vietnam 55 years ago, returning to his home in Queens carrying the scars of war in his head.
I was getting nightmares. I was waking, getting flashbacks. I would hear a noise and I would go into panic. I never could talk to anybody about my experiences in Vietnam. It brings back too much anxiety and depression.
It wasn't until a decade later that Marino learned he had PTSD. He joined group and individual therapy sessions for 12 years.
Nothing worked. Nothing worked. Shiyama.
He devoted hours to calming transcendental meditation. He said it helped reduce the symptoms, which he said turned him into
a grumpy old man before I was an old man.
How have you been doing?
I've been doing very, very well. I'm opened up more with my family. I haven't had a nightmare, believe it or not.
Earlier this year, Marino resorted to a new cutting-edge therapy to break free from trauma, RTM, short for Reconsolidation of Traumatic Memories, that was administered in 3 sessions with mental health counselor Florence Maroney.
The treatment allows client and therapists to work to a level of safety, to move through what they've experienced without experiencing the intensity of their memories. What would you name that memory?
Ambush.
The therapy uses a short visualization process to retrieve and alter memories. In a replay of their 3rd and final session, the therapist encouraged Marino to imagine a movie screen to review without pain non-traumatizing versions of what has haunted him for years.
Whoosh. Are you there?
It's just pictures of horrible things that I'm looking at. But the trauma that I had trying to relive that is gone.
It alleviates the pain in a calm setting. They take control back of their story without their story controlling them.
But it took a traumatic memory and put it into the general memory. I can think about it, I can talk about it, I can do this. It's no longer in that bad, horrible memory box.
Now 78, Marino says the RTM therapy has worked wonders for his relationship with his family, including 4 daughters and 8 grandchildren.
Mike's story is a story of hope, that how many years later he can find solace.
His therapy has opened up my life again. And I'm going to say the demons that haunted me for 55 years are no longer there.
Typically, it takes 3 or 4 sessions to reduce or eliminate emotions related to traumatic memories. The RTM therapy is now gaining wider use in the treatment of post-traumatic stress and reportedly is successful 96% of the time and is not prone to relapse. I'm Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News.
And there is help if you need it. You can reach the Veterans Crisis Line by simply calling 988 and pressing 1. You can also text 838-255. And in non-emergency situations, you can call this number here for assistance and learn about benefits and services you may be eligible for. All the Veterans Benefits advisors are veterans themselves. Now to New Jersey. A woman who served nearly a decade as an Army medic finally gets the chance to own her own home. Habitat for Humanity is helping her family get into their dream home. Pix 11's Jim Vassell has more.
And the home of the brave.
We're just looking forward to it, making memories in our new home and growing old and celebrating with family and friends.
Milkaries Moquette has accomplished so much in her 9 years as a medic in the Army. Soon she'll be able to check off one more accomplishment: owning a home.
I imagine us cooking and gathering just as we did with my grandmother.
Something that means everything to her.
Every year for the holidays, we would gather at my grandmother's house, Thanksgiving especially.
Morris Habitat for Humanity helps build affordable new homes for income-eligible families. And during Veterans Build Week, a national initiative to provide housing for vets, Moquette and family will be building a place of their own in Perth Amboy.
It's a hand up, not a handout. They have to help build their own home and do counseling, but it is an opportunity for them to have an affordable mortgage, to own their own home, to have a piece of the American dream.
Local and state dignitaries signed the beams of the home, sharing their well wishes. Officials say more than 1.5 million veterans spend at least half their income on rent or their mortgage, showing a need for more affordable housing for vets. Moquette currently rents a home in the city, and owning a home seemed like a distant goal. Now, all that stands between them and that goal is 400 hours of sweat equity.
Even if we have grandkids, we could say, to them, look, this house was built with our own hands.
A home is more than just 4 walls. It is a place where lifetime memories are created. And if all goes according to plan, Moquette and her family will be making holiday dinner memories inside their new home next holiday season. In Perth Amboy, Jim Vassell, Pix 11 News.
And next, Marvin Scott takes us to the Museum of American Armor. We'll be right back. In our final story tonight, Marvin Scott visited one museum on Old Bethpage, Long Island, where weapons of war are kept in working condition.
Machines of war rumble across the tranquil setting of a suburban Long Island community. Nestled beneath the trees is this hangar-like building, a museum of American armor, where history is brought to the present.
This museum has one of the largest collections of military relics dating back to World War II, Korea, Vietnam.
The museum houses more than 100 relics of past wars, including artillery and a fleet of tanks that have been restored and are fully operational.
This is the famous M4 Sherman tank. More than 50,000 of them were produced and really was the workhorse of the United States Armored Cavalry. It has a 75mm gun. Up top it has a 50 caliber machine gun. Right here is a 30 caliber machine gun. So well armed and well armored.
This American-made tank bearing the Israeli flag served the U.S. in the Cold War and has an interesting history.
We sold it to Jordan later on in the early 60s. Jordan used it against Israel in the fighting in 67. Israel captured it and then reused it in the 1973 war. This vehicle was made by Buick Motor Car Company. The gun was made by Oldsmobile. So during the war, you could not buy a Buick or an Oldsmobile sedan, but you could buy an anti-tank gun or you could buy an M18 Hellcat.
As director, Mark Renton is the museum's only salaried employee. He's a mechanic who has helped rebuild many of these machines of war.
It's keeping history alive because, like we like to say here, people lived and died in these vehicles for our right to be free. And we like to show people what they look like. And what's different about this place is they all run. The people are passing away. All I have to show people for what they did is the vehicles that they rode in.
To me, it's so much not about the vehicles itself. It's the men who operated these vehicles. These were skinny little kids from the cities, the farm boys. They were teenagers. And we can't forget their legacy.
These military vehicles are so well maintained that during an annual World War II encampment weekend, they're rolled out to participate in recreations of combat situations. The field maneuvers and mock attacks bring history to life.
Well, we have a number of missions here, but one of our most important ones is education, because we're finding now that more and more children are not getting the history lessons that they need, and it's possible for us to help fill in those gaps.
Veterans who served on tank crews in conflicts are invited to ride in the tanks, as the museum is the custodian of their stories.
Veterans past, present, and future. This is one of your homes, the Museum of American Armor.
This museum's extensive collection of military relics and the stories behind them brings history to a new generation and keeps alive the rich legacy of America's military accomplishments. As well, it pays tribute to the men and women who so gallantly served in America's wars. At the Museum of American Armor in Old Bethpage, Long Island, I'm Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News.
And with that, we thank you for watching Veterans Voices. I'm Craig Treadway, and to all of our veterans and current members of the military, thank you for your service. Good night.